Well, thank you, Andrea. The landing was, I would say, it was more than what Doug and I expected. Things are always pretty smooth as you work through a deorbit burn, because of course you're still in low Earth orbit while you take that little bit of energy out that it takes to lower you into the atmosphere and start the trip home. As we kind of descended through the atmosphere, I personally was surprised at just how quickly the events all transpired. It seemed like just a couple minutes later, after the burn was complete, we could look out the windows and see the clouds rushing by at a much accelerated rate. One of the things we didn't have a lot of time to do during our time docked to station with how busy we were was to really focus on the Earth for an extended period of time. And during free flight in Dragon, we were able to do that and probably had a pretty good feel for the rate that the Earth was moving below us, and we could definitely tell things were picking up quick after we started that burn. Once we descended a little bit into the atmosphere, Dragon really, it came alive. It started to fire thrusters and keep us pointed in the appropriate direction. The atmosphere starts to make noise. You can hear that rumble outside the vehicle, and as the vehicle tries to control, you feel a little bit of that shimmy in your body, and our bodies were much better attuned to the environment, so we could feel those small rolls and pitches and yaws, and all those little motions were things that we picked up on inside the vehicle. As we descended through the atmosphere, the thrusters were firing almost continuously, and I think the sound that makes, I did record some audio of it, but it doesn't sound like a machine. It sounds like an animal coming through the atmosphere with all that all the puffs that are happening from the thrusters and the atmospheric noise. It just continues to gain magnitude as you descend down through the atmosphere, and I think we both really noticed that aspect of things. All the separation events, from the trunk separation through the parachute firings, were very much like getting hit in the back of the chair with a baseball bat, just a crack, and then you get some sort of a motion associated with that, usually pretty light for the trunk separation, but with the parachutes it was a pretty significant jolt. And a couple of jolts as you go through the disreefing of the parachutes as well. And so all the way down, we were talking about it. I think I took a line from an old movie that Doug and I were both familiar with at one point, because under the G load of about 4.2 Gs, I said, want to get some coffee? Much like we had seen in an old movie that we had watched, because that was really the feeling that we had, and that's the best way to describe it. If you've seen an old movie that happened to have some guys who'd been in a centrifuge, that's what we felt like. When the time came to splash down, I think we were watching the altimeter, which is a GPS altimeter, so it's not super accurate everywhere that you're located, and so we got to below zero for our altitude on that indicator, which was a little bit surprising. And then we felt the splash, and we saw it splash up over the windows. It was just a great relief, I think, for both of us at that point. And I can't say enough about how well the SpaceX team trained us. They provided us some audio clips of what it was like inside the Demo 1 vehicle, so that we were familiar with all those sounds. And reassuring is not quite the right word, because we think of it more in technical terms as pilots and engineers riding along with that vehicle. But when it performed as expected and we could check off those events, we were really comfortable coming through the atmosphere, even though it felt like we were inside of an animal.